You're sitting at the dinner table. The house is quiet. You lift your fork to take a bite, and then you feel it. That heavy, unblinking gaze burning a hole through you from across the room. Your dog is staring at you, wide-eyed, silent, unmoving. Is it just a shameless plea for a piece of chicken? Most people assume it is. They view this intense mealtime stare as nothing more than a behavioral nuisance, an annoying, hungry habit that needs to be instantly corrected. We tell them to stop. We snap our fingers. We point away and say, "Go lay down." We treat our dogs like they are just empty stomachs with legs. But modern behavioral neuroscience tells a completely different story. To view your dog's stare merely as a demand for food is to fundamentally misunderstand the canine mind. You aren't just looking at a hungry animal, you are looking at a living, evolutionary marvel. Because this isn't just psychology, it's chemistry. One of the greatest challenges in pet psychology is what we call the empathy void. It is our human tendency to project our own complex emotions onto biological canine behaviors. When a dog stares, an owner might say, "He's trying to make me feel guilty for eating a steak." Or worse, "He is staring at me to assert dominance over the house." Both of these interpretations are psychologically bankrupt. Dogs do not possess the prefrontal cortex capacity for spite. And the alpha theory? It is dead. The outdated alpha and dominance theories have been thoroughly debunked by modern canine behaviorists. Even the very scientists who originally observed alpha behaviors in captive wolves have retracted those statements. Your dog is not trying to overthrow your household over a piece of kibble. When we misunderstand the stare, we react inappropriately. We cause anxiety. We trigger conflict. We must stop asking, "How do I make this stop?" Instead, we must ask, "What does my dog need from me right now?" From a scientific POV, eye contact is a profound window into your dog's internal emotional state. We must analyze this gaze through a dual lens. First, as an ancient survival mechanism rooted in extreme vulnerability, and second, as a complex hormonal bonding process driven by neurochemistry. To truly understand your dog, you must know exactly what they are feeling in that moment. Let us start with the psychology of survival. There is a deeply pragmatic biological mechanism at play when your dog stares at you while they eat. It is called the Sentinel Effect. To understand this, you must put yourself in the mindset of a wild canine. When an animal stops to eat, drink, or eliminate waste, they are inherently vulnerable. Their head is down. Their visual field is severely restricted. In a wild environment, a distracted animal is a dead animal. Data from PetMD and veterinary behaviorists explains the biological roadblock of digestion. To digest food properly, a dog's body must shift out of the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. They must enter the parasympathetic nervous system, also known as rest and digest. But here is the catch. A dog cannot fully enter a parasympathetic state if they feel their environment is unsafe. They need a biological guarantee of security. And in your living room, that guarantee is you. When your dog eats and stares at you, they are looking to you as the pack's sentinel, the lookout. By keeping their eyes locked on you, they are continuously checking your body language for signs of danger. If you are sitting calmly and breathing normally, your dog reads this as a signal that the perimeter is secure. They are literally outsourcing their situational awareness to you. They are thinking, "My head is in this bowl, but if you aren't panicking, I am safe." This is exactly why some dogs will refuse to eat when their owners leave the house. It is why your dog might pick up a mouthful of kibble, walk into the living room where you are sitting, drop the food on the rug, and eat it while watching you. It isn't a mess-making habit. It is a profound interspecies complement. They do not feel secure enough to let their guard down unless their trusted sentinel is directly in their line of sight. But survival is only half the story. Now, we must examine the most endearing manifestation of the mealtime stare: the chemical bond. When your dog stares at you softly while they eat, or peacefully watches you from across the room, their brain is literally flooding with positive neurochemistry. They are experiencing the look of love, and we have the absolute hard, peer-reviewed scientific data to prove it. In 2015, a groundbreaking study was published in the prestigious journal Science. Dr. Miho Nagasawa and her team at Azabu University in Japan completely revolutionized pet psychology. The researchers discovered that when humans and dogs engage in a mutual gaze, both species experience a massive, significant spike in oxytocin. Oxytocin is colloquially known as the love hormone. It is the exact same chemical responsible for creating the unbreakable bond between a human mother and her infant. When your dog looks at you during a meal and triggers this oxytocin loop, they are feeling profound attachment, trust, and euphoria. Food is naturally a primary reinforcer. Eating feels good. It triggers the release of dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with reward and pleasure. When your dog eats their food and looks up at you, their brain is chemically linking the dopamine rush of caloric intake with the oxytocin rush of your presence. They are neurochemically celebrating you. In the wild, eating is a solitary, fiercely competitive act. It is terrifying. But in your kitchen, eating has become a communal bonding exercise. If your dog has a soft gaze, relaxed ears, and a gently wagging tail while they eat and look at you, you are witnessing something magical. An interspecies attachment that is completely unique in the natural world. They aren't asking for more food. They are thanking the pack leader who provided it. However, we must transition to the darker, more anxious side of the canine mind. Not all stares are rooted in love and teamwork. Sometimes a dog staring at you while they eat is experiencing a state of acute, terrifying stress. This is defensive aggression, known in pet psychology as resource guarding. And when this happens, their brain is no longer bathing in oxytocin. It is drowning in cortisol and adrenaline. According to the American Kennel Club and data from the journal Applied Animal Behavior Science, resource guarding is a deeply ingrained evolutionary survival mechanism. To a wild canid, a bone or a piece of meat is the literal difference between life and death. The instinct to protect a high-value resource from perceived competitors is hardwired into their DNA. While necessary on the frozen tundra, it is highly dangerous in a modern living room. When a dog resource guards, their stare is fundamentally different. This is the hard stare. The dog's body goes completely rigid, the ears pin back, the lips slightly tighten at the commissures. Often, you will see the whale eye, where the whites of the dog's eyes are clearly visible as they keep their head low but lock their pupils onto you. They are not feeling evil or stubborn. Their sympathetic nervous system has been hijacked by pure fear of loss. From a psychological perspective, the guarding dog perceives your presence near their food not as a comforting sentinel, but as a direct spatial threat. They are communicating a desperate boundary. I have this. It is mine. I think you are going to take it away. If you step closer, I will escalate to protect my survival. Punishing this stare is a massive psychological error. If you yell at a dog for giving you a warning stare, you are actively validating their fear. To truly grasp why eye contact is so powerful, we must look backward. In the animal kingdom, and particularly among wild wolves, direct, unbroken eye contact is never a casual affair. For a wolf, a hard stare is a challenge, a precursor to bloodshed. It activates the fight or flight response instantly. When two wild animals lock eyes over a carcass, it is a high-stakes negotiation of resources. Yet, your domestic dog does something entirely different. Over thousands of years of domestication, the meaning of eye contact shifted. According to research published in Frontiers in Psychology, dogs evolved not only to tolerate human eye contact, but to actively seek it out as a primary mode of cross-species communication. This is known as the domestication syndrome. As dogs integrated into human settlements, those who could effectively communicate with humans were granted better access to food and shelter. The dogs that survived were the ones that learned to read our faces, and crucially, allowed us to read theirs. Evolution literally changed their anatomy. Dogs evolved a specific facial muscle, the levator anguli oculi medialis. This muscle allows them to raise their inner eyebrows. It creates the iconic puppy dog eyes look, revealing the sclera and mimicking human expressions of sadness or inquiry. Wolves do not have this muscle. It was built exactly for you. So what happens when the roles are reversed? You are sitting at the table, eating a piece of chicken. Your dog is sitting 3 feet away, staring through your soul. Is this love? Is it guarding? No. Usually it is a psychological phenomenon known as operant conditioning, and it is driven by one of the most powerful behavioral forces on the planet, the intermittent reinforcement schedule. When your dog stares at you while you eat, they are engaging in a highly calculated behavioral strategy. Dogs are master observers of human patterns. The ASPCA notes that at some point in your dog's life, staring at a human who was eating resulted in a piece of food being dropped. Behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner proved that the most addictive, hardest to extinguish behavior in any animal is one that is rewarded on a random, variable schedule. This is the exact same psychological mechanism that makes slot machines addictive to humans. If you win every time, it gets boring. If you never win, you walk away. But if you win randomly, maybe on the 5th stare, maybe on the 50th, you will keep pulling the lever forever. When your dog stares at you at the dinner table, their brain is a slot machine. They are feeling intense anticipation. Every time you glance back at them, their dopaminergic hope spikes. If you give in and toss them a piece of chicken, you have just paid out the jackpot. You have chemically reinforced the stare. In this moment, the dog feels a sense of control over their environment. They have learned that their gaze is a tool, a remote control that can eventually compel the human to dispense a reward. While it feels like an annoying nuisance to you, to the dog, it is an intellectually stimulating game of extreme patience. To break this begging stare, you must apply extinction. You must completely withdraw the reward. No eye contact, no speaking, no food. But be warned, when a conditioned behavior stops working, the animal will experience an extinction burst. Their brain feels frustrated. They think, "This used to work. I must try harder." The staring will intensify into whining or pawing. If you give in during a burst, you teach them that escalation always wins. It is also vital to recognize that not all dogs are wired identically. Hundreds of years of selective breeding have created distinct psychological profiles regarding eye contact. Take herding breeds like Border Collies and Australian Shepherds. They were bred to control the movement of livestock primarily through visual pressure. They use the eye, an intense, crouched stare. If a collie stares at your fork, they are mentally trying to herd it. Sighthounds, like greyhounds, are visually hyper-attentive to sudden movements, rather than seeking oxytocin bonding. Conversely, companion breeds like Cavalier King Charles Spaniels were bred specifically for the look of love. Their large, forward-facing eyes were selected to mimic human infants and trigger your maternal instincts. Meanwhile, livestock guardian dogs are genetically predisposed to high resource protection. Their stare is almost always a perimeter defense. But what happens when a dog's staring behavior suddenly changes? What if a dog who normally gives you the soft, oxytocin gaze suddenly begins to exhibit the hard stare? Or what if a dog that used to eat peacefully now obsessively tracks your movements from across the room? This is the vital warning, because sudden behavioral shifts in dogs are rarely purely psychological. They are almost always medical. Veterinary experts emphasize that sudden onset resource guarding is a massive red flag for hidden physical pain. If a dog has severe dental disease, a fractured tooth, or gastrointestinal distress, eating becomes a painful, vulnerable act. Pain drastically lowers a dog's threshold for stress. They feel weak. Because they feel weak, they feel highly vulnerable to having their resources taken. The hard stare becomes a desperate shield for their physical agony. Similarly, the onset of vision loss, such as progressive retinal atrophy or cataracts, can radically alter how a dog behaves at the food bowl. As their vision degrades, they can no longer rely on peripheral vision to monitor the room while their head is down. They are forced to lift their head frequently and stare intently, trying to make out blurry shapes in the room. What looks like anxious guarding is actually a dog terrified of what they cannot clearly see. And for senior dogs, an intense, vacant stare can be an indicator of canine cognitive dysfunction, the dog equivalent of Alzheimer's disease. According to data in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior, dogs with CCD may stare blankly at you or the wall near their food bowl because they have literally forgotten the mechanical process of eating, or they feel profoundly disoriented. If your senior dog's stare becomes empty, you must consult your veterinarian immediately. Once we understand the true psychology and rule out the medical, we must alter our own reactions. True pet psychology requires the human to act as a therapeutic partner. If the stare is love, embrace it. Return the soft gaze. Speak in a gentle tone. You are mutually feeding the oxytocin loop. If the stare is vulnerability, provide that security. Sit quietly. Read a book. Teach them that the environment is fundamentally safe. If the stare is a guard, you must utilize desensitization and counter-conditioning. Never punish the warning. Instead, leave the dog alone during main meals to instantly drop their cortisol levels. Later, walk past them at a safe distance while they have a low-value chew, and toss a piece of high-value roasted chicken past them. Keep walking. The dog's brain will rewire. Human approaching transforms from panic into joy. You change the emotion, which changes the behavior. The staring contest between a human and a dog over a plate of food is one of the most complex interspecies dialogues on the planet. It is a brilliant collision of ancient wolf DNA, modern domestication, hormonal feedback loops, and learned behavioral psychology. When we wish our dogs would just act like unfeeling robots, we miss out on the magnificent emotional depth of their species. Every gaze is a sentence. We just have to be willing to translate it. The next time you are sitting at the table and you feel the weight of your dog's eyes upon you, pause. Take a breath. Look at their ears, their posture, and the tension in their face. Are they riding a wave of dopamine? Are they checking the perimeter, relying on you to keep the predators at bay? Are they flooded with terrifying cortisol? Or are they experiencing a warm rush of oxytocin, looking at you not as a food dispenser, but as their entire world? When you stop trying to control the behavior and start trying to understand the feeling, you move from being merely an owner to being an empathetic leader. Now, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, does your dog give you the look of love or the sentinel stare while they eat? And make sure you subscribe, because in our next video, we are uncovering why dogs sigh heavily, and the science behind it is even stranger than you'd expect.